welcome back to our channel. Today we're doing a Q&A.
So we've had so many questions via Instagram and on YouTube since we started the channel, just about more detail into what life is like here, and we just haven't been able to answer them all in the vlogs.
Yeah,
so,
specific questions that you guys have had.
Yeah, so we thought we'd give you a bit more detail today.
Yeah, and we put a poll up on Instagram and we got tons of questions, so we can hopefully get through them all. We'll see how we go.
We're definitely not going to get through them all.
No, there's a lot of questions. So the first question is, how did you guys end up in the Solomon Islands and running EP Resort?
So this is a question we will get asked like every single night at the dinner table.
All the time.
So my mum and dad made a very adventurous decision back in 1982 to travel to the Solomons for a holiday. My brother was only 4 months old, I think, at the time, went exploring, and they made their way out here after a really long time planning. So it took about 2 months just to make the journey out to this part of the Solomons, and they essentially just fell in love. It was just one of those epiphany moments. My mum has traveled to just about every country on the planet, yeah, in her 20s, so
amazing.
Yeah, she'd always been looking for a place where she wanted to call home, and I guess, yeah, they both found this place and was just like, yes, this is where we want to be. They got involved back in the very early 80s, and yeah, we've sort of transitioned our life to being in between Australia and here ever since, and mum and dad have been here for 20 plus years full time now. And
yeah, so
yeah,
you've lived here on and off your entire life.
I've lived here on and off my entire life. I've never known life without EP. I came here first when I was 2 months old. I have a Solomon mum, much like the kids have their mum and Mary. I have a really deep connection with this place because it's home.
So when we met, Jason and I met here at UP, or at Sege actually, at the grass airstrip. I came out here as a volunteer on a medical tour. I'm actually a clinical pharmacist, and so that's what initially brought me here. We didn't know each other then. And not long after that we started dating. It was after probably 18 months of us long distance that we started to contemplate how we could live our lives in the same country. One day I said to Jace, what if I moved to Upi? Which seemed like a crazy thing to do at the time because I had a career as a hospital pharmacist, and we ended up deciding that we wanted to be here together. So I moved over here in 2015.
Yeah,
and
for a year.
And actually that was when we started co-managing the resort with your mum and dad.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What languages do the people speak here in the Solomon Islands, and what language is Jace speaking? So you're probably hearing Jace speak Pidgin mostly in our videos. Yeah,
so I think there's 86 different languages in this country.
Yeah, something like that. And unique languages, not dialects.
Not dialects. So
languages.
In the lagoon here, there are 3 dialects of Moravian, which is a completely unique language. The collective language of the Solomons is Pidgin English. For any of our Solomon viewers, you'll easily identify probably that my accent is from the west at least. Yeah, it's a Western Province Moravian accent, and people in different parts of the Solomons have different accents, different nuances to the Pidgin English that they speak as well.
There was another language question, which was how long did it take to learn the language?
I was 13 years old. We were living here. It's when I first moved here permanently. So I used to live between the countries, just bouncing back and forth all the time. And I could speak reasonable Pidgin, but not fluent Pidgin. During those 2 years that we were here, we had some closed down periods during that time. Basically, the only way I was able to communicate with anyone else other than my parents was to learn the language. So it was that full immersion learning. It was fantastic. So I don't know, I probably picked it up in a couple of months. It was just like, it was a necessity.
Yeah, and not that the question didn't ask about me, but I speak Pidgin too. Mine's not as fluent as Jace, obviously, but I had the urge to really learn as much as I could when I was coming out on medical tours, because as a health professional, I wanted to be able to deliver the information I needed to give to the patients. So I learnt basic phrases, mostly centered around medications early on.
Yeah.
And then once I moved here, within a couple of months, with immersion as well, just working among the staff and spending time with them, mostly in the kitchen, I picked it up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning. I still say things very wrong all the time, but that's fine.
And the Moravian language, I speak basic Moravian. I can understand 80% of what people are saying.
Well, our kids actually both understand Moravian when they spend time with Miriam, and now that Arlo's going across to kindy, the kids mostly there speak Moravian and basic Pidgin, no English. Both of the children at this young age are getting exposure to that. And we kind of in a way have a multilingual household because of Miriam being here, but also us speaking Pidgin around the children, but we don't intentionally teach it.
I really want them to learn Roman first, actually.
Why choose to have a resort in the Solomon Islands of all places?
Well,
good question.
Good question. There's something about this place that grabs you.
It's magical.
It's
magic.
It's not how it looks, it's how it feels.
Yeah.
This place, the people are just so unique, and it just creates this vibe in this lagoon that is just so very, very special. But the way of life here and people's approach to life is just something that's really, really special. So why put a resort here?
Why put a resort here? I think generally, the environment is spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely spectacular.
We have one of the most magnificent coral reefs in the world right here on our doorstep, just moments away from our house while we're sitting over it right now. You know, this is a place in which you can share that environment with other people who are interested in scuba diving or free diving or just ocean adventures. And that's what we love.
We want to share this beautiful place, this beautiful culture with people, and do it in a respectful manner. And protect it. So it's a very difficult place to run a business because it is so remote, it is so isolated, there are so many challenges. You got to be in it for the right reasons, and this isn't the sort of place that you would just come to flippantly set something up and expect it to succeed or work, because there's an enormous amount of challenges that go into it.
Yeah, actually there were a few questions relating to this, and also how did we do it? How did we set up a resort? But I think that'd be a 20-part series in itself. Essentially, Upi is here as a resort, just as a mechanism for embracing this part of the world, this incredible environment that we have, and this beautiful culture that exists here. Supporting the local community.
And trying to respectfully support the way of life here. And I think tourism is a really good way of doing that.
Anyway, moving on. I like this one. When are we reopening?
Ah!
Who knows?
Well, we're reopening for a very short period of time in 4 weeks.
You would have seen in our video last week that we are currently preparing to reopen the resort for a temporary period, and this is basically to provide a few bookings for people who are in country, who are actually living here, and this is a great opportunity for us to sort of revamp the resort a little bit, give some short-term employment to some of the local people who have been really struggling financially, because it has been a long time that we've been closed.
Very long time.
But in terms of international travel and when we're reopening officially, we don't know.
That completely depends on when the country feels it can safely reopen.
We don't know.
We don't know.
So it's been almost 2 years now, and we're suspecting it's going to be a little bit longer yet.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Did you go home to Australia to have your babies? If so, for how long? Yes, we did. So with Arlo, we were here until I was 30 weeks pregnant, and then we flew back to Australia. We had to take into consideration how late in the pregnancy we could still travel internationally and when it would be safe to travel. We chose to go back to Australia just because there is a great midwife program here in the country for local people, but the health system here is already heavily burdened just by the needs of the local community, and we just felt that it would be safer for us to be in Oz.
We didn't want to add to that burden as well. We had the ability to be in Australia for that. It wasn't necessary for us to place additional pressures on the health system.
Yeah, so we had all our obstetric care delivered in Australia, and then we flew back when I was 30 weeks with Arlo, and we stayed until he was 10 weeks. So it was a couple of months in Australia, which was actually a really nice opportunity for us to spend some time with my mum and visit friends and be around other people with children early on, especially becoming new parents. And you know, we have access to nothing here, so it was really good to be there for a little while to figure out all the things that we actually needed, and we had to be conscious of what we brought back because we couldn't bring a whole lot. Yeah, so that was with Arlo, and then because it all went so smoothly with Arlo, we thought that we'd want to stay here a bit later in my pregnancy with Ophelia, but our obstetrician said no, and thankfully he did, because she came early and I went into labour and it was a bit of an emergency, and yeah, we ended up having a less smooth ride with Ophelia when she entered the world.
And she was 4 weeks early, so it was a legitimate amount of time.
Yeah, so it's lucky we didn't stay here any longer than we did. With her, it was a similar time spent in Australia again. Speaking of the kids, we had another question: how old are the kids and where were they born? We've already answered that. Arlo is 3.5, he'll be 4 in February.
Yep.
And Philly is a little over 2, so she turned 2 in August.
Okay.
So they're only 18 months apart. Was that a good decision?
We had 2 under 18 months
yeah,
for
no,
about 3
they're
days.
really close, and we're seeing how beautiful their bond is forming now. How would Arlo and Philly go with schooling? Homeschool or correspondence school?
I think
This is a tough
COVID,
question.
yeah, it is a tough question. I think COVID has changed our outlook a little bit on this. We're open to all options, and we're just not sure what will be the best fit, but we'll just let the kids guide us a bit on that as well. I think you need to be respectful of the fact that every child is different and they all have different needs. We are not saying no to any of the options. Homeschool, school in a village here, supplemented by some homeschool, school back in Australia, a bit of both, live-in teacher, who knows? We really don't know.
Just seeing so many children displaced out of school systems over the past 2 years because of the pandemic, we kind of realised that actually the best life opportunity might be for us to be here with our kids and somehow make schooling work. Yeah, I mean, Arlo's recently started attending local kindy, which has been, it's been wonderful for him to have that interaction with the other kids at the school there, and that's added another element to life, which has been really nice. There are now children hunting for crabs beneath us, if you hear some chatting.
If you hear a scream, it's because they got bitten by a crab.
Next question, where does our water come from? How do you store it and keep it safe?
So,
also a really good question.
Excellent question. All of our water comes from the sky, so it's 100% rainwater. We store it in a variety of tanks scattered all around the resort. We probably hold 250,000 litres max capacity.
It's
We're
a very wet
increasing that.
climate here.
Yeah,
so
we have 3 metres of rainfall every year. How do we keep it safe? We have a triple filtration system down to 1 micron, and then UV sterilisation of the water before it gets to any of the taps in the resort.
it's very tasty, clean
Actually,
water.
you took a photo of me changing out the bulb the other day.
I'll add that in here. And also we do actually have a desalinator for emergencies.
Yeah,
but
so
we haven't used that.
if we're running low on water, we can produce our own water from seawater. Because even though we have 3 metres of rain a year, we do have dry periods as well, and you know, there's a lot of things and people on this island.
A drought for us would be 6 weeks with no rain.
Yeah.
So we'd struggle if we had a full resort and no rain for that long, then we'd need to make some water.
For sure.
How do you go living and working together every single day? This lifestyle is not for everybody.
No.
I think that's
we
important.
chose it. This is actually the whole reason we live this life, is because we wanted to live and work together every day.
Yeah.
And it works really well for us. Yeah, it's super challenging, of course. I think in this phase that we're in right now, with 2 little toddlers, I think is probably the most difficult. I mean, even if we didn't have COVID, we'd have a full resort. So there'd be that complication as well. Having the space to have good conversations about challenges is really hard, even
We were
particularly with this
talking
house.
about this last night.
We were sitting in the bathroom talking
We were
about this last
whispering
night
in the bathroom.
because part of the reason for building our new house is that we do need that space to be able to, have those conversations, feel normal.
It also just comes down to personality and our relationship. A lot of people would prefer to have separate jobs and come home and have their relationship at home together.
Yeah.
And we're just different. I mean, we just really love being together all the time. And if Jace is up on the job site for the entire day and I hardly see him, like, I actually miss you. And I feel like that's just who we are, and we love spending this much time together. That's why it works. How do you guys, this is funny, how do you guys look so fresh in your videos? It must be really hot and sticky.
I think you need to increase the screen resolution on your computer or your device.
It is really humid.
Do not feel fresh at all.
It is really humid and sticky here all the time, mostly.
4 showers a day.
Yeah, we're in the water a lot, and we spend a lot of time in bikinis. Well, not you, me. But yeah, I guess you can't smell what you see on your screen, so maybe we're not always that fresh.
That's terrible.
That's disgusting. Thanks for thinking that we look fresh. It was actually a question that someone asked me in a DM recently, and actually, if you're interested in adventures with kids, go check her out. I'll put Kirsty. It's Kirsty from Bali. I'll put her handle up here. She's an awesome parent and very witty and funny. Go check out her.
So she's just taking the piss, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe she is. Do we give our kids screen time? We don't have a TV, so not on a TV. Yeah, they get a little bit, very infrequently. The kids do yoga a couple of times a week maybe.
They watch our apps every week, which is really
Yeah.
cool for them because they get to see, like, they're part of the filming, they're part of the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So
And they
you
love...
last week with Arlo. He was so stoked with himself, like after he actually got to see the video of him going around like doing the deck check. That was so cool.
It's so funny. They have to wait until the video is finished and published on YouTube before they get to see it.
We need the likes.
The kids don't have it.
They don't have their own YouTube sign.
No, they don't. So it's not about the likes. Funny story actually, when we moved back to give birth to Ophelia, Arlo had gotten so used to watching the fish just here when he brushed his teeth. So when we went back to Oz, he ended up getting a fish video from Nana, from Jill, that he watched the fish on the phone every time he brushed his teeth because he missed home. So it's pretty cute. That's screen time. We don't have any qualms with screen time, and we're not sort of suggesting that anybody else shouldn't use screen time.
It's just not a part of life. Yeah.
And I'm sure when we get back to traveling normally that it will be very handy to have iPads and things when we're traveling. But
the kids love mainly natural history docos, so if they are watching anything, it's like it's Planet Earth or Blue Planet or
Arlo loves Blue Planet.
Like put on, what are they? Put on the wildebeest charging around in Africa.
He thinks the wildebeest is so funny.
So how do you get your supplies and provisions? The challenges of living, let alone running a business here in such a remote location,
getting things here.
Is getting stuff here. So we get everything we physically can as close to home as we can. So we support all the local market gardens and whatnot. Anything that we can get in the lagoon, we do. We get some stuff from Honiara, from the capital if we can, and the rest basically has to come from Australia if it's anything that's an unusual thing that wouldn't normally be stocked here in the Solomons.
So in order to physically get things here, it's either shipment, so by barge, and we've got a large concrete jetty here where the barge can land. We haven't had a barge in
ages, It's a 1 to 3 month supply chain depending on where it's coming from.
Yeah. So the barges are how we also get our fuel and gas bottles and things like that. And then we air freight quite a lot of stuff. Our local airstrip is just a small grass airstrip with a twin otter that comes in there, and so that's how we get our perishable items. During COVID, like during this period of time, our supply chains have been completely broken down. So we have been doing things quite ad hoc. So when we've needed to get things here, we've sent things on the passenger ferry or on air freight mostly. And then the local stores at the moment have enough for us to survive as well. So buying things like flour and rice and, you know, swimming soap. Nobody says swimming soap, that's a pigeon thing, but like
soap.
Just soap. We've actually been using those local stores more than we were before. Which might actually change how we do things in the future. We'll see.
But essentially it's a logistical nightmare running a place.
And nothing ever comes on time, so when you think that you've got a shipment coming, it's usually a few months late. Do we make our own bread? Yes. There is nowhere else to buy bread.
We make everything.
We make everything from scratch here. How do we get power to the island? Are you completely off-grid?
Yeah, so we are completely off-grid. At the moment, we are only under diesel power generation. We're going to do a whole episode centering around it on our new house build and what we're going to do for power up there. We are converting to solar. It was going to happen pre-COVID, not possible during COVID. So we'll just see how we go when we come out of this pandemic.
But we look forward to that. It's going to be a big difference.
It's one of the real kickers about COVID. We would have liked to have already had that in place, but such is life at the moment.
Ooh. What is the wildest experience we've ever had here? I wonder what things, like, they mean, like creatures,
wildest creature,
wildlife.
Orcas. I've swum with orcas 5 or 6 times. Katie hasn't seen them yet.
It's
been like an orca drought since she's lived here.
I've never seen an orca.
Actually, I saw them on a trip back from Gizo when you were back in Australia.
The one trip I didn't go on, Jay saw orcas. I was pretty...
They're phenomenal, they're incredible. They're just the most amazing creature to be in the water with because they're highly intelligent, extraordinarily powerful, not aggressive.
It's been years though,
a couple of years. We haven't been out on the open ocean side for a long time. Part of the reason why we're building our new house is to be out there watching the open ocean for things that swim past.
We might see orcas swim past.
Yeah, for me, orcas, I mean, they're the ultimate in-water experience to see them.
I think the wildest experience for me so far would be going out to Kavachi, the submarine volcano, and we went out to see the leatherback turtles laying eggs.
That was pretty cool.
That was insane. The leatherback turtles are amazing. on that trip we went out to Kavachi and there was actually huge sulfur plume. Sulfur? Is it sulfur? Just coming up from the vent. I'm waiting for the day that I get to see it erupting.
So that's probably another while. I've seen it erupting, probably on one of its best eruptions ever. So because it's below the surface, it essentially explodes through the surface of the water.
Amazing.
And it's crazy. And you're at water level watching lava spew out into the ocean and explode and trying not to get hit in your boat.
There's been a ton of incredible things happen right here at Upi. I've seen even swimming in the lagoon one day and I found that huge big plume of what were they like? I think it was a nudibranch spawn and they were all just floating in the water. It was incredible.
Mantas are awesome.
Yeah, we've seen heaps of cool stuff, but there's heaps more to come, I think. How many people live on the island? There's the 6 of us, so Jason and I, our kids, and Jill and Grant, Jace's mum and dad, and 1 permanent staff member, Hotliner.
Yeah.
He lives here all the time at the moment because he's from the Shortlands, so he doesn't have family nearby.
He does, us.
Yeah, it's us. He's like family now. He's lived here for so long. Usually in normal resort operations mode, then we would also have our staff. So our staff come from 2 main villages and we provide transport for them to and from work, and they live on site when they're on shift.
Yeah, so we'd normally have 25 to 30 staff members
here at one time.
20 odd guests and the family. So in normal mode, normal resort mode, there'd be like 60 plus people on the island every day. And since COVID, there's been about 6. Yeah, 7. 7, that's right.
7 people.
7 plus 1 or 2.
Yeah. We had a question about when will our medical tours resume. So to give a little bit of context, we do have a charity, a local charity here, which is implemented by some local board members and our family mostly. And that charity works in health and education relief programs. We normally run a medical tour. This is how I first came to the Solomons. I was a volunteer on one of these medical tours as a pharmacist, and now obviously I'm more heavily involved in that. Up until COVID, we were running medical tours 4 times a year, so 2 major medical tours where we would take international volunteer teams around to different communities in the Morovo to service the health needs of the local population, so dealing with chronic diseases, acute illnesses, injuries and surgical referrals. And then the other 2 tours either side, so there'd be also 4 surgical tours a year. Now because of COVID, all of that had to stop because we couldn't bring our international teams in, which is really, really unfortunate. During the past couple of years, we've been doing our best to continue supplying the local clinics with medications, supplementing the system that already exists here. However, that's been limited and very, very difficult to actually get things. So when will they resume is the question.
We don't know.
We really don't know.
Don't even know when the country's going to open, don't know when tourism will resume yet, so we'll just play it by ear, and our health program will resume as soon as.
Yeah, I mean there's been small things that have carried on. We've been supporting individuals whenever we can.
We've been doing surgical referrals to other referral centres and stuff like that, but yeah, the tours really depend on unrestricted travel and the resort being open and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, if you are interested in learning more about our charity, you can check out the website. That's all for our Q&A, I think.
Yeah,
Sorry
we didn't get through them all.
Or I will spend a million hours editing.
There's about another 20 there that we didn't get through.
Yeah, sorry guys. Maybe we'll do another one of these. Let us know in the comments below if you like this type of video, if it's been interesting, if you've learnt something new about us.
Next week we're going to be showing you hopefully the design of the house and how we're progressing. There's a lot that's happened.
Thanks so much for all the questions you guys sent in, and thanks for watching.
Alright,
stay
safe.
Week.
Bye.
Bye.